This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, February 23rd. From Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Oxford, Ohio, I'm TJ Huddleston.
And from Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin Campbell.
And welcome to the HomeTech Podcast all about home technology, home automation, and Mastodon spam moderation. Jeez. This last week has been insane.
I didn't even know we were getting spammed. Like, it wasn't until somebody said something, but I don't look at the federated feeds to see it.
Yeah.
I just follow people I follow.
I think this is the week of spam. This week we had to disable the security company's website submission form because I have received like 20 website submissions for our security company, and we literally never receive anything. And it's been like Russian spam and Viagra spam and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know what's going on in the spam world right now, but it's getting obnoxious everywhere.
The best part of this Mastodon spam, which was I guess it definitely caused more problems on some of the larger servers that were kind of open to registration. It was kids. It was basically kids in Japan, I think is what they said, that were feuding over who had control over a particular Discord server. Of course, that's what it was. And I guess at some point they decided to like knock it off. And otherwise it was a few days of hell. The funny part was they were basically posting a picture of spam. It was a can of spam with a Discord address on it.
That was it.
I don't know why.
That was it. But it also showed how vulnerable Mastodon is. If they could just do this,
yeah.
It's kind of scary, like somebody else could just start doing it too, and we're still vulnerable.
Yeah, to be fair, this is kind of a problem everywhere right now. Like, so I manage, I think, like 4 or 5 Facebook like pages, and we receive notices via message every day, and I would say several times a day on like each page. Basically like saying, oh, if you're the admin, your account's going to be deleted if you don't respond within 24 hours and blah, blah, blah. But like, it's getting so bad that a lot of businesses are posting about it. It's like, hey, is anybody else getting this? Like, is it legit or not? It's totally not legit, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Luckily, our server was not infected. Well, I mean, I guess I did find one of the accounts that they used on our server at some point. They had registered and we had approved them. They had kind of a generic.
Sorry.
Gavin, approving all the bots.
If you don't say that you're here to talk to Gavin, we're not letting you in. So
yeah, exactly.
If you don't want to subscribe to Gas, we don't want you.
Yeah.
Exactly. But you know what? I have to admit the spam marketing actually was effective, because when I found out about it, I actually opened up a can of spam for lunch. I was feeling for it. To be honest, I haven't had it in a while, but we had one in the cupboard and it reminded me and I felt for it, and I actually had one for lunch. So it was like, that's, effective advertising right there.
TJ's face was what making me laugh here. It's not a pretty face.
Just threw up a little bit in my mouth. Don't worry.
Hey, growing up, we didn't have many choices.
And if you can't tell from my introduction, I'm actually traveling this week. I'm in Oxford, Ohio, which you probably never heard of.
Nope.
But it's near the Indiana border. And literally the only thing around here is Miami University, and not Miami, Florida, Miami, Ohio University. And so I'm here for a couple days working. There's literally nothing around. Every time I ask somebody what's a good restaurant or anything, one person recommended Bob Evans. So that's how that's going.
It's got a population of 22,000 people. I mean, that makes it iffy on the dating season. The dating scene must be very like,
That's actually surprising though, because the town I lived in Powell, I feel like had more things, and this town doesn't have many things. So I'll be here till Friday night, hopefully. I'm working at the university installing some cameras. So
nice.
If you're in the area, I will already be gone by the time Seth gets this posted. So don't contact me.
It says there are 16 or almost 17,000 undergraduate students at this particular Miami University, which I have not determined yet if it is an extension of Miami University in Florida that just got lost or something like that. I don't know.
No, I feel like it's from the Miami River, which is not too far away, but I don't know for sure.
So wait, does that population include the students? Because then there's only 6,000 people that are actually there full time.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, that does not surprise me.
That explains
actually,
a whole lot.
Oh man,
the closest Lowe's is 30 minutes away. Just to give you an idea of where I'm at.
You must see the same people over and over when you're swiping on Tinder.
It is kind of interesting though, walking through like the downtown area. I don't know if this is like a common thing because I really didn't go to like a stay away college or anything like that. But all the houses have names on them. Like there's like signs above all the porches and stuff. One of them was like the Big Lebowski. One of them was called Church and Rescue. One of them was like Margarita Sisters. So all the houses seem to have names, and I assume that's to make them look less shitty. But I don't know that for sure. It's like, well, it's got a fun name. You don't really notice that it's got mold in the bathroom or something.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a nice small town from these pictures. I like small towns.
Yeah, no, it's not terrible. One of the funny stories that came out of this is some lady from it's like Thailand or something was applying for schools, and she applied for Miami University. And she's like, "Oh, this will be awesome! I'll be able to move to Florida and experience the Florida life." And she got accepted, only to find out that it's Miami University in Ohio, which is in the middle of nowhere. So I don't think it was quite the college experience she was looking for.
Probably not.
But she became a tour guide, and she likes telling people that story now.
I'm stuck here.
My parents won't contact me back.
In 1848, students participated in the, quote, Snowball Rebellion.
I was looking up movies filmed in Oxford, Ohio. I don't know any of them. There's like 28, but I'm like, have I seen any of these?
I was looking at the campus, and it does look familiar. Like I'd seen it in some of like in the background shots or something like that. But it
is a very nice campus. I've heard it's like a rich people school.
Yeah, liberal arts school, only has a couple of degree programs.
The baseball field I'm working on is super nice. And just a correction, the student that I was talking about, we'll link the story in the show notes, but she is from Vietnam.
Oh.
So I'm sure that was quite the surprise when she found out where she was accepted to.
I mean, just from like anecdotal evidence that I have, it probably gets a little colder where you are up there in Ohio than it does here in Miami, Florida.
Well, one of the pictures is with snow, so I assume you're correct. I don't think there's any iguanas falling out of trees here.
I mean, they are permanently falling out of the trees at that point. Yeah. Well, that sounds fun, TJ. How long are you in Miami? I mean, Oxford.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, right? Is for the longest time, when people were telling me I was going to Miami University, I was like, oh, that's in Miami, Ohio. So I was like, Google Maps in Miami, Ohio, and I was like, that's not a thing. Oh, it's Oxford. I'm here until Friday night, so I got here today. Basically a waste of a day just to kind of look around and get the lay of the land and everything. Tomorrow it's supposed to rain. So that's going to be a great day to work outside pulling wire. And then Friday, hopefully it doesn't rain and I'll be able to install the camera gear and get everything working. So
that sounds fun. I love working in the rain.
Oh yeah, it's the best. It's like a weird setup too, where like they don't know where the conduit goes. It's kind of nice because they have all the conduit ran for everything. But the guy is like, this is the conduit. I don't know where it really goes though. But they have like a third party company that actually like installed the conduit and stuff. And they're supposed to show up tomorrow to show me where the conduit goes.
They're just going to come point. They're going to come point.
They're not going to like pull the wire or anything. They're literally going to point at the conduit, which I feel like is a waste of money for everybody. But I'm not paying the bill, I guess.
Don't worry. Yeah, don't ask questions.
Yeah, it's like a very annoying setup where I get like I get keys to all the buildings and stuff, but I have to turn them in every day. And so I have to go back to this office before midnight and turn the keys in, or else I get like a $50 fine.
The RA is going to chase you down. Here's a fun little fact. There is a satellite campus in Hamilton, not Hamilton, Toronto. Yeah. No, by Toronto, it's Hamilton, Ohio. So I guess this part of Ohio seems to just take everybody else's names and.
Well, that's all of Ohio in general. So I mean, we have Dublin and Oxford and London and Rushi, which is actually Russia.
Oh my God, they have a Toronto, Ohio.
Of course they do.
City in Eastern Jefferson. Man, I'm learning so much about Ohio.
What city are you in, Gavin?
Oh, is there a Pickering, Ohio?
There's a Pickering 10.
Close enough. You stole our name still. We're learning so much today about Ohio.
Well, welcome to the Ohio podcast all about Ohio.
The history of Ohio. Everything good about Ohio. It's only going to be one episode. Sorry.
Things to do in Oxford, Ohio. It's a very short episode. So
I'm right next to a Dairy Queen. So I mean, I got that going.
Yeah, you get some Texas toast. All right.
Yeah. I always found it fascinating that they serve you chicken tenders and fries, and they give you a little cup of gravy with it. Like, what is going on right now?
Oh, you haven't lived in the South very long.
I haven't.
You have gravy on everything.
Well, I mean, my family's from Kentucky. We could drink gravy. I'll be in Milford, Ohio, the 11th through the 15th. So I don't know if that's anywhere else.
The TJ Ohio tour continues.
That's right. I'm bringing you all over. You're welcome, listeners.
Okay, that's enough about Ohio today.
Find the Motel 6 and he'll leave the light on for you.
I might splurge on the hotel for the next one.
You can just appreciate they have Wi-Fi this time.
That's right.
All right. Well, a couple of things happened this week. A couple of new products too, so we'll have to jump into those. What do you guys say we jump into these HomeTech headlines?
Let's do it.
All right. Walmart has announced the acquisition of TV maker Vizio for $2.3 billion to enhance its television product. No, not its television product line. Its advertising business.
Oh, what?
Yeah, they have plans to leverage Vizio's SmartCast operating system for ad-supported content, streaming TVs. Walmart aims to boost its media business, Walmart Connect, and potentially gain an edge over Amazon's ad segment. The move allows Walmart to tap into Vizio's 18 million active accounts and offer innovative entertainment experiences after the sale. There you go. Not just moving the boxes, but they're also ready to pump some new Walmart advertisements. And why is everything about ads? I don't understand.
That's the only way people make money. It's even with the subscriptions. People don't want to subscribe to things. They'd rather just deal with ads. I mean, it's no matter what the business is, it always comes back to ads because that's what people are fine with.
I guess.
It's gross, but I mean, it's the same reason like if Facebook turned around and started charging a subscription, people would just go away from it. They'd rather just deal with the ads and promoted stuff than deal with actually paying money, even though it would be a better product. This is an interesting purchase though. I mean, Vizio for the longest time, I feel like during the initial like onslaught of smart TVs was like the recommended TV everywhere. Like if you talk to somebody, everybody was recommending a Vizio TV. But that's kind of been replaced by like Roku TVs and Fire TVs and stuff like that. And I really haven't heard that much about Vizio TVs in the past, I would say like 2 to 3 years at least.
I guess I never really recommended anybody. I always ran across the Vizio TVs because, I mean, they were Walmart, Sam's Club special, right? Like, But I always ran across them in those clients' homes that were like, oh, I've got a big TV, I'm just going to use that. And we'd go to install it and there'd be a Vizio TV there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to program this. There's no discrete codes. That's all I've ever known it for. I think later on they did introduce discrete codes into their products. You know, they paid the extra fraction of a cent to have the coders add that on for all of their TVs, but still. It was never a great picture on the TV, and also they weren't easy to control. They were not possible to control. So always kind of like took a backseat to the big 3 or 4 TV manufacturers that were out at the time, like Sony, LG, Samsung, heck, Panasonic, Pioneer, all the ones that were around back
Panasonic.
then. Yeah.
And to be fair, all those TVs you named are starting to get annoying when it comes to ads now. Like they're all doing the same thing now.
Not Hitachi. They're not going to. Or no, wait, Mitsubishi, not Mitsubishi. Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, they make TV still? Yeah. I mean, it's just a weird company. I mean, like I said, I feel like it was the original budget TV for smart TV stuff. But their SmartCast operating system was never good. And they always like excluded weird things. Like I remember going to install a Vizio TV one time, and it didn't even have an antenna input on it. And I'm like, I've never seen a TV without an antenna input on it, but this specifically did not have one.
There you go.
I mean, they must have saved like $5 or $10 on it, but that's what they did.
Yeah. It's interesting here. I'll also link in our show notes a story over to Strategy. I was kind of like peeking through his coverage on this, and he had gone through the financials, and basically Vizio is not a TV company. It's basically a media company that has TV hardware that it uses to basically push content into your house. They sell more TVs at a loss, and you know they're basically using their advertising special software and all that stuff to kind of like make up the money. And they make a decent amount of money. It looks like their 2023 quarterly earnings, $270 million. So not a bad platform, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense too. I mean, it's kind of the same thing we've talked about in the past, where a lot of these TVs are being sold for extremely cheap because they're able to mine all the data from you.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is a good use case of that where Walmart recognizes that and they want a piece of that.
Just sad. Because I think there's still people that care about having nice TVs. Like Gavin, he wants a nice TV that doesn't have advertisements.
That's all I want. That's all I want, you know? I don't ask for much. But why is it so hard to get a nice TV that doesn't bug you about advertisements? No. Or EULA updates, you know, that's just as bad too. Like, stop updating your EULA. Like, send me an email or something, but don't put the prompt on the TV.
Right.
Yeah. TVs kind of suck. So I feel like if somebody just came out with like a TV that did not have all the smart stuff and just charged like 25% more, people might buy it. But people are such in the habit of buying cheap TVs now that I don't even see that happening. It's kind of like the Amazon effect, right? Where if you go to buy something from an online store and they don't have free shipping, you might not buy from them just because you've been conditioned to get free shipping.
Yeah.
And I feel like TVs are at that point as well. Like if you saw two TVs next to each other and one was like $200 more and it was just because it didn't have any smart stuff, you'd be like, half the people would be like, I'm never buying that. Why does it needs to come with the smart stuff?
Yeah, I wanted to buy a dumb TV, but then I'd plug in like my Google Cast or Chromecast or whatever it is they have and let that feed me ads instead. Like, you're not going to get away from these ads. Like,
well, then you're basically stuck to buying like a signage TV or a professional TV, but then you're lacking on the quality because it's basically just meant to be on 24/7.
Yeah, well, some of the higher end ones look fine, but they're expensive.
Yeah, if you spend like $5,000 or $6,000.
Yeah, you're paying the extra. You're paying the non-subsidized price for a TV, right? So wild. Well, there you go. Vizio. Walmart will own Vizio and have an advertisement wing of their company to stream those falling prices.
Walmart ads coming your way.
Well, the new year wouldn't be a new year without another Wyze glitch that lets 13,000 people see other people's feeds. I don't know. There's been a lot of outrageous reporting on this one, I think, but let's talk about it. During a recent service outage, Wyze security cameras experienced a, quote, glitch that allowed approximately 13,000 users to view incorrect thumbnails and event videos. Well, that's not correct, but not associated with their accounts. The incident, partially caused by a third-party caching client library, resulted in a compromised in the compromised user privacy. Wyze was pretty quick to disable access to they basically just shut down the entire events tab on all of their apps, which is kind of funny. And they launched an investigation to fix the issue. I guess Wyze is pointing their finger at saying, well, there's an Amazon outage. It's a weird caching thing that happened. When everything came up, it caused our servers to kind of crash and perform strangely. And what happened was the device ID and the user IDs got mixed up. And one goes one way and the other goes the other way. So what? And then you get a picture of, somebody else that's not anybody you know in your living room. No, they're in their living room, but you can see them. Approximately 1,500 users interacted with the incorrect thumbnails. And Wyze noted all affected users.
This has been happening a lot for internet-connected cameras, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, well, Wyze... I would say Wyze has a history of it, but they kind of just have a history of these Reddit problems. Because this was a Reddit problem, is what it seemed like. Like, this is not something that we're going to keep using this term. This is a Reddit problem. This is something that they really couldn't control until it fell apart in front of them. And they see like, oh, that's what happens when this breaks. Then they can fix it. And I mean, if it was another company that didn't fix the problem and just let it go, I could see like bashing them, but Wyze eventually will have the best camera platform, streaming camera platform, the most secure platform on the face of the planet, just because they take so much heat every time something happens.
And they technically could have given us any excuse about why it happened, and we still wouldn't be able to prove them wrong, right? Like, they can make up whatever they want, blame whoever they want. That's fine. But I think these camera companies, they still need to work on their security more, do more testing, more QA, because it hurts them every time they run into a situation like this and, the media picks up on it. Yeah,
that's going to happen. I mean, if you're going to offer a service, so what you're trading away, I guess, as a consumer from like, if you just went out and got a regular camera, let's a regular security camera, went to TJ and bought one from him, it's going to work locally and just fine. But if you want to go outside of your house and use it, then it's got to connect to some other service or a server or something like that. And you're just basically relying on them. And these cameras from Wyze, I think they're primarily, I know there's like a firmware thing you can do to kind of turn on the local stream.
Yeah, RTSP.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's on all the cameras though, or just
It may not be on all of them. I say that. That's an old thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part, they're designed to stream out, connect to a remote server where your phone can connect to the remote server. You don't have to worry about firewalls. You don't have to worry about your local internet security, anything like that. And you get the convenience of connecting to your camera and see what's going on in your house when you're thousands of miles away. That's great. But you are trading that privacy for convenience. And that is a simple fact, no matter what you're using. Like, if you want to have a lockdown security system, a camera system, it's perfectly doable. You may pay a little bit more, maybe not. The Wyze cameras are $35 a piece or something like that.
I was going to say, definitely going to pay a little more.
You're going to pay a little more, yeah. But, maybe not over time, because I think there's subscriptions with that. You wouldn't necessarily have that with a dedicated security system or a dedicated camera. But you may not have as much convenience, or it may not be as easy to get back in. Or if you have a problem, guess what? There's no Wyze CTO to yell at. You're the CTO, and you get to fix the problem when you get home, but you don't get to watch your camera while you're away. So I don't know. Like, these kinds of things are going to continue to happen. As always, it just matters like how these companies react and what they do to fix the problem. If Wyze walked away from it's AWS, we can't do anything about it. No, they said we're going to try this, and this, and that'll mitigate this issue from happening in the future. That's great. I mean, that's a little bit more than we can ask for people who sell $30 cameras. I honestly wouldn't expect it.
Honestly, we're surprised they even announced anything.
Right. So, I don't know. Like, with all the breathless coverage from The Verge and Reddit, like, you'd think that like the world was ending with this stuff, but in fact, it's just getting better, because every time they find one of these bugs or some of these issues happening, they're able to go in and fix them. And those mistakes or problems shouldn't happen again. Now, if they do happen again, then yeah, that's when you start saying, oh, these guys are not truthful. But it seems to be a different problem every time.
Liars.
They have multiple problems, just different ones. That's fine, right?
Well, the first one that was a huge big deal that The Verge was freaking out about for like years was like a feature that most people use to turn on to basically turn on and share your feed to somebody who didn't have your account to log in. You could share a URL, and you could share that URL to somebody. And I guess there may have been a way, if somebody knew something about your system, like the hardware IDs or something like that, they could either brute force or find. May have. It was never proven that you could actually do that. I think some security guy did, but he also kind of like cut some corners too. But like that was a feature. And if you turn it off, it's not an issue. And I think now what they do is they just ship with that feature turned off. You want to turn it on, you can still turn it on. It's still a security issue? No, it's a feature. It was just turned on by default. So I don't know, like I think they've been kind of like dragged through the mud for a $30 camera, but for the most part, they are doing a good job of following up with this stuff, and they're doing more than I guess I would expect for somebody who's selling a $30 camera to fix their problems. So good for them.
I think they've gotten good experience with doing these press releases and customer interaction and stuff whenever this happens. Yeah. I mean, it's happened enough that they know they probably have it down to a T now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like we're talking about this. And if you go over to the actual Department of Justice website, they have basically shut down a botnet that was running literally on everybody's route, like literally every router, manufacturer's router. Fortinet, like Ubiquiti, they shut down a botnet that was running across 1,000 Ubiquiti. They basically went into these routers, the Justice Department did, and patched the problem or set it up to where they fixed the firewall rules on them, and then rebooted the router. So the Trojan that was inside of it went away, and Russia or whoever, China, couldn't use it for DDoS attacks and that kind of thing. So like you see that happening, that gets no coverage. But these cameras, they show a few thumbnails to 1,500 people, and that's like, stop the presses. We've got to talk about it. But one's a major thing. There's thousands of these routers out there that are installed on the edge of the internet and being attacked and not updated, but we're going to go after these guys. I guess it's low hanging fruit because they sell a $30 camera.
Yeah. And the DLG, were those routers owned by various companies and stuff like that too?
Yeah, it was all over. Yeah, they just said there's they basically, I think they had like they scanned for them or they figured out where or how they were controlled or something like that. And they just went into them and
rebooted them.
Yeah, they changed the firewall settings to disallow admin access over the internet. That's the big problem, right? Because these routers could be set up by default to basically allow admin access over the internet. And why anybody would do that, I don't know. I remember seeing that setting for years. It finally went away. But they went and turned that off and just reboot the router. And of course, the Trojan stuff goes out of memory when you do that. So yeah, there's a huge bunch of that going on.
That's an unscheduled change at my company. They'd get in big trouble for that. Rebooting it, without a change ticket.
No ticket, no reboot.
It's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Well, hopefully you didn't have one of these.
I accidentally rebooted a server once and got in big trouble.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to type reboot.
Oh, yeah. Instead of log off, you accidentally click reboot and you're like, oh, crap. Yeah, it's happened. They caught me once. It's happened more than once, but they've only been caught once. So,
oh, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. We got some new products we got to talk about because this stuff, some pretty cool stuff here. Inovelli is introducing the White series, which are Thread and Matter compatible devices for the smart home enthusiasts that are seeking speed, brand compatibility, and ease of use, all within the elegant design of an Inovelli switch. There you go. They've got Thread Matter protocols. They've got a nice little video we'll put in the show notes, a little sizzle reel of all the, computer generated views of switches that change colors and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know, these look like all their other blue and red series and everything, but they're white series, I guess. Not that the color's white on them. You can get them in other colors, but like they have Thread and Matter, and that's the big deal.
Yeah, that's fancy.
And I'm a big Inovelli fan, right? Like I'm huge. All my switches are Inovelli. And that's one thing I really like about Inovelli is that no matter if you got the Z-Wave, Zigbee, or Matter version, they all look the same. So you can mix them up in your house, which I have done. And it's not like they look different. I like that. That's a big win for me.
Yeah, that is pretty nice that they keep that consistently. So they're just changing the internals to match whatever they need to. And I use the Inovelli blue switches in a lot of my rooms, and they work great, especially when you do the smart bulb mode and Zigbee binding with the blue series. I absolutely love them. So I think it's a good change, and it actually gives you a good Matter Thread switch. I mean, there's a lot out there right now that kind of work over Wi-Fi, but I don't know. This might be the first nice one that actually works over Thread.
They do have a nice product. I bought a couple of those. Still don't know what to do with them, but
are they installed yet?
No, I don't have anything to hook them up to. There's no Zigbee radio here. I'm hoping one day that Control 4 flips a switch and says, "Oh, we're going to be real Zigbee now."
No, stop it.
Do you buy these things and look for a problem to solve? You seem to work a different way here. Usually we have a problem and we buy something to solve it. You buy something and then look for a problem to solve.
Beth has deep pockets.
I just like nice things, Gavin. Come on.
In boxes, apparently.
Yeah, plenty of boxes, yeah.
Yeah.
So many boxes. They're nice. I like the little LED on them. And one day, and I figure out what to hook them up to, I'll hook them up. But today's not that day. I do have a hallway like that. The Control 4 switch, it's like one of the old version 1 Control 4 things. I probably picked it up in a dustbin at work or something like that. It was getting thrown out, and like the plastic on it has broken off. So I need to go swap it out for a switch. It's just a hallway switch. Rarely gets used, but the switch looks ugly. So maybe it'll go there. I can't control it, but maybe it'll go there.
Well, to be fair, the Control 4 switches are kind of ugly. I mean, this would be a huge upgrade for you.
Oh, yeah. Especially Gen 1 controller. It's not the Gen 2. Gen 1 was ugly.
Gen 2 is ugly anyway, but Gen 1 definitely. These ones just look like normal switches, which is nice.
Yeah. They got the little status feed light on it. They're nice product. Nice design.
Good job, Inovelli.
All right. Well, let's talk about, here's some, if you have, you want a nice product, here's some nice products here. Josh.ai had their winter launch event. What was that? Today? Was it today or yesterday? I think it was today.
Yesterday.
Tuesday. It's kind of blended together at this point.
Tuesday the 20th.
Yeah. They announced a bunch of stuff, but primarily among the big things, I guess. And they have a new touchscreen that they're going to be putting out. They have a new quote open source platform for developers called Nimble Dev Suite. They have announced a ton of integrations using that Nimble Dev Suite with a bunch of third-party companies, including Shelly, thermostats, audio systems, Vantage lighting and shades, all sorts of stuff that they announced at the end about it. And it looked. I think they had a new voice too. I kind of like jumped into this video like halfway through.
A ton of new voices.
Yeah, they have like 30 in total now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which is good because the original voice I think is a little creepy and it's like way too robot-y. I mean, I was not a fan of it. But the new ones, they actually have like AI generated ones, and then they have, I think, human ones. And the AI ones actually sound really good, especially if you've heard other AI generated voices. They've all been kind of robot-y.
Especially if you heard the Josh.ai default voice.
Yeah, it was not good. I mean, to me, it was very off-putting. So
yeah,
I'm glad the voices, I think, is the biggest change that I'm happy about because now I don't feel weird when I talk to my Josh system.
It was kind of like a butler and with almost an English accent, but not quite. I don't know. I never could place it. And it was just kind of it was a weird voice. A robot butler from maybe England. Maybe they were from like Maine and pretended to have an English accent. I don't know. Like it wasn't a real English accent.
Maine and England are different places.
I know. It was like they weren't from England, but they pretended to have an English accent. Yeah, like
lobster fishermen that are stuck in London.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
No, but honestly, this is a good update. The touchscreen I think is really interesting as well, because dealers are always looking for touchscreens, but in my experience, touchscreens that you put in the house almost always kind of suck. And you resort to doing like an iPad with an iPort setup. But then you have to worry about your iPad battery blowing up in like a couple of years. And so it's nice to be able to have this touchscreen that actually has Josh built into it. And so you can control your whole Josh system and everything like that. So I think that's a very good update. Dealer cost, I think, is really good. I don't know what technical MSRP is, but I think it comes in at a good price. So I think a lot of people will opt for this instead of Josh, micros or nanos in a lot of places, especially in like your kitchen or your living room and stuff like that.
Well, I saw a lot of guys on the video, not on the video, but in the chat on the video, saying that they were using iPads and that kind of thing. They're like, oh, this will be better than iPads, or some of them were like, oh, I'll just keep using the iPads, but just depends on what they want to use, I guess. But
well, and the problem with the iPad is you don't get the wake and everything like that.
Right.
So you walk up to it, it doesn't really wake up to you. It doesn't really respond to your voice and everything like that. So this will solve that problem, because when you have a tablet on the wall, you want it to respond to you. You don't have to just walk up and start touching and stuff like that. So,
right. And Gavin, what'd you think?
No, I thought it was a great presentation. They showed off a lot of new features. You didn't mention the Ava remote integration. It looks like they're more integrated with the new Ava remote. They showed off their new area interface. I really like their interface. Like, it's very clean, it's well thought out, and I'm almost feeling like to start duplicating parts of it in my Home Assistant setup. That's the first thing. It's like, I was looking at certain things going, how can I do that for myself? So, I like that. The touchscreen I was impressed with, I thought touchscreens were dead. They kind of brought it back. Right. It looks nice too. Right. So they're making good progress moving forward. And the one shocking thing, and I don't have any more details on this, but they mentioned Matter and Home Assistant. I don't know where that's going. They just mentioned it in kind of like in one sentence quickly. We'll see where that goes in the future. I'm pretty sure there'll be more announcements later.
Give it to me. I want to integrate with Home Assistant. I mean, honestly, it's a perfect match. I mean, right? They're both local systems. So it's just one of those things that seems like it'd be a natural fit. The coolest thing out of this whole announcement, though, is the Nimble platform. And, last year at CEDIA, they kind of started to make their play at becoming a home automation platform. And this has kind of been happening over the years. But I think CEDIA kind of like cemented that. But the problem was that there wasn't a ton of integrations with third-party services. And so basically you could integrate with like Control 4 and a couple others. But it wasn't a lot. It's not what you would think of with a home automation system. And so to see them coming out and supporting Shelly and Yale and August Lock and Google Nest and Honeywell and all these other companies is really good. And that's only going to progress throughout the year. And so I think a lot of people are going to probably start looking at this to replace their current automation systems, whether it's Control 4 or Crestron Home or anything like that.
Or augment on it as well. Like you can augment a lot of, like Crestron Home, Crestron Control 4. Mm-hmm. You can put this over the top of it and use this as the interface into your smart home.
Yeah, absolutely.
I noticed here that the AI voices, I guess the AI voices, what distinguishes them from the horrible, and I just found the guy's name here, Zermatt default voice.
Ugh.
Yeah, Zermatt.
Zermatt. Makes sense why it's awful.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like he's going to destroy us.
It says AI voices are higher quality, but may take longer to respond depending on the internet connectivity. So and then Zermatt, of course, is not an AI voice because he sounds awful. But it says local. So it sounds like those voices are local and the other ones kind of stream in.
So it sounds like Josh is becoming more cloud dependent in a way too.
They were already cloud dependent. Like it was always made as a local processor for some of the automations, but the entire voice thing was always cloud dependent.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, if you're throwing this in somebody's house, they have internet. So your automations and stuff will still work locally, but some of the other stuff you're going to need internet access for.
Yeah.
I don't know which one to switch it to. Tahoe and Anton sound much better as British people than Zermatt.
Yeah, I forget which one we chose.
Some of these are just horrible. But they do have American voices, and Breck is one of them. Hunter, Jackson.
I chose Vale and Vale. Female British AI voice.
Yeah, there's something about that British accent that just makes interacting with your voice assistant better.
Yeah, it just makes you want to listen to them.
Yeah, exactly. I would never turn on an American one. That would just drive. I'm gonna upset most of our listeners right now.
I tried the Canadian one. It just kept saying sorry. It wasn't really getting anything done.
Sorry, I can't do that. Sorry. I do not understand you. Sorry for saying sorry. Is there actually a Canadian one?
No.
Oh, but I'm gonna have to write them.
I don't think there is.
Ping Alex, we need a Canadian voice.
It's like everything else, though. American, British, Australian, Indian, Irish, Scottish, South African.
No Canadian. I'm upset now. I'm like, we're just north of you. Like, how could you leave us out?
Honestly, I would choose the Canadian one if they made it sound like somebody from Letterkenny. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
give your automation system a tug.
That's what I appreciate about you.
I'm glad you think of Canada as Letterkenny.
Oh man,
I would go up more if you guys were all like Letterkenny.
I'll let the Prime Minister know.
All right. Well, all in all, it seemed like a pretty good event for them. A lot of excitement in the in the chat that was streaming by during the video, and I like how they do that. They put a nice video together, well shot and produced, put together, and then the people that are in the video, they're not having to do the video because it's already produced, and they're in there talking to people as it goes by. So I really like that form of reveal or whatever they call it. That they do on YouTube, and they do a good job of it. So, all right, well, let's move on here. All the links and topics we discussed tonight can be found over in our show notes at HomeTech.fm/471. All right, pick of the week. Well, we got two of them. One that made me literally laugh out loud today. Thanks, Gavin. He wrote on there, I've got a new TV from Temu. The price was great. And there's a TV on the wall, and it's booting up, it looks like. It's got the splash screen. It doesn't say Samsung, it says SMASNUG. You got a brand new SMASNUG TV.
Hey, the price was great, though. I don't care what it says on the TV.
Okay, at a quick glance, it said Samsung, but it's not. It's SMASNUG. So looks like a quality picture, too.
Oh, yeah. HD TV for sure. 1080p.
Those whites are not bleeding out into the black at all.
Yeah, it came in K4.
K4.
I don't know why Walmart bought Vizio when they could have bought this.
SMASNUG,
Yeah, exactly.
And the other one is kind of keeping in our TV theme here. I ran across this video on TikTok, and it says POV buying electronics in the year 1996, and it is like a video or a walkthrough of an electronic store in the late 1900s.
1990 something.
Yeah, 1996.
5 years after I was born.
Oh wow.
The funny part about this video is everybody kept looking at the cameraman funny, and then I clued into it. He was probably carrying one of those big VHS cameras on his shoulder while he was following people around. So no wonder they were looking at him funny.
Not a phone.
Nope.
Not one of those flip cameras. Nope. It was definitely a camcorder or something.
Yep.
But yeah, everybody kind of looks over their shoulder like, what's this guy doing?
Yep.
This is weird. But yeah, they're measuring TVs to make sure they fit, the width and
the depth. Oh, those 27-inch TVs, they must have cost a lot back then.
I can't see any prices on the video, but they're very expensive, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, so like, this store is not Circuit City, but it very much reminds me of working in Circuit City way back. The way things are laid out, the TVs, the big, it could be just a massive Circuit City or something. I don't see the name of the store, which is kind of weird, but there were all sorts of these little regional electronic stores like this all over for a while. It kind of ended in the 2000s at some point, unfortunately, but yeah, this is a large one, and they've got tons of TVs. They've got looks like CDs and things. There's even like a balcony in this place. People are walking upstairs looking at more TVs. So this was an extremely large electronics store back in the day. It's funny to see. There's a little nostalgia here.
Just for the TVs. The TVs, they were so big, you had to have large areas back then, right? Mm-hmm. Like now they're flat and you can stack them nicely and, fit more in, but not these ones.
Now you can't even get rid of the furniture for free that all these TVs went into. Because I'm constantly going to people's houses where they're upgrading TVs and stuff like that. And they're like, what do I do with this built-in cabinet? I'm like, well, you just chop it up and burn it, I guess, because nobody wants them.
Yeah, we would, there were a lot of times that people had the old box, when they built their houses, they would have the DOP TVs because those were popular, about this time, I guess, around the 2000s, 2001, somewhere in there, when Samsung and others came out with those DLP and even the projection TVs before that. Were pretty popular. They have built-in cabinetry and that kind of thing. So like a lot of times we would get a cabinet company to come in and like build a custom cabinet underneath it to match the finish of their cabinet, and then put this backboard in there and then hang a flat TV in the space that's given. And it was always like a nice thing where they didn't have to they were all freaking out that they were going to have to update their cabinetry and everything. And it's like, no, we'll get this done, this one little step, and it'll look nice. And whenever you do go to remodel and you want to rip out the cabinets, you didn't break your bank, doing this stupid TV update. So it's fun. Nostalgia. There you go.
Times have changed.
I think I had this, there's a guy walking around with a Nike outfit on. I was like, I had that outfit.
You wore that to work, didn't you?
You're baller.
Yeah. It's like, I think I shopped at the same place he did. So. All right, let's move on here. If you have any feedback, questions, comments, picks of the week, great ideas for a show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can visit HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. All right, project updates. I can't say that I had any project updates. I was working on a car this weekend, so I hate working on cars, by the way. I don't like cars. So it's horrible. And basically, all it does is tell me and let me find out in the worst possible way about an hour or two into it that I don't have the tools to do this. I have the tools to maybe hang a TV or punch down an entire network rack. Do I have the tools to take a starter off a 1996 BMW Z3? I do not. I didn't even know some of the tools existed that I needed for this. So thanks, German engineering.
Whenever I work on cars, I do two things. I make sure I work on them while the stores are open, and I always make sure I have a backup car to drive to the store to get what I need for the car I'm working on.
Yeah, whenever I go to work on a car, I just take it to the mechanic because I don't work on my car anymore because it sucks.
Yeah. No, these need to go to the mechanic. Well, actually, this little one, it shouldn't have to go to the mechanic, but like the starter didn't work. And I'm like, oh, it's right there. I can kind of see it. And there's just 2 bolts that hold it in. I can kind of see those 2. And the 2 bolts are like some weird star-shaped Torx bolt thing that I've never seen in my entire life. I had no idea these things existed. But they do. And I packed up and Amazon was still open and I ordered the set that I needed. So it's sitting on the floor over there. And maybe in 3 more weeks, I'll get back to putting the starter on the stupid car because it's not going to happen anytime soon. TJ, we know what projects you've been working on. You got any updates on the house project or anything, or you're just...
I do have to give a shout out to you, Seth. So Seth heard my complaints, and I don't know if we talked about this on the last show or not. I feel like we didn't. But Seth heard my complaints that I was using 3 different PoE switches in my Ubiquity system.
Oh.
And he was like, well, actually, I have this other switch underneath my desk. I think he's just using it as like a footstool or something. I'm not really sure. But he shipped it to me, and I got it installed. And I went from a 42 watt PoE switch to a 500 watt PoE switch.
Wow.
And I really like it. My only problem is that it's so freaking loud. Oh my
Seth
God.
Seth knew it when he sent it to you.
I didn't.
He
honestly,
knew. I know you.
It lived in a closet. I didn't hear it at all.
Yeah. I got it installed and I was like, oh man, this is great. I'll plug all my stuff into it. And then I went into the lunchroom later and I was like, what is that noise? And I'm like looking around and I'm like, it is so loud in here. And it's the Ubiquity switch.
She's got a data center.
Yeah, I was looking it up, and it's like in a metal cabinet. It's in a rack too. And so I was like, man, it's just so loud. And so it's like looking up information about it. And I was like, you can change out the fans to Noctua ones, and it'll be a little quieter, but nothing crazy. You can disable some of the PoE ports, and that might help. It didn't help. I disabled some PoE ports. I don't really feel like switching the fans out. And so it's going to be my white noise machine whenever we're in the laundry room. So luckily you can't hear it like really in the hallway, but as soon as you step into the laundry room, it's so loud. But, props to Seth. I don't have to worry about PoE power anymore. So
silver linings.
Yeah, So thanks for that, Seth. You just happen to have an extra one.
No problem.
What a nice guy.
I had an extra switch and I didn't need the Ubiquity one, so bye. He went by.
I bet you that's why it was sitting under his desk this whole time, not plugged in. He probably plugged it in, said this is too loud, and said, "I'll give it to TJ."
No, that one lived in a closet in the forbidden closet of mystery, as we call it. And so I was kind of moving stuff around. I had a Netgear switch of kind of the same vintage, and I wanted to use that instead of the Ubiquity for various reasons. So I popped that one in and had the Ubiquity laying around. I just have, and the Netgear honestly is just as loud. Like I noticed when I was working on it, I'm like, it's loud. It's just when you get a 48 port switch with PoE, that's what they sound like.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of power. I mean, it's like it's basically a desktop power supply at that point. So
yeah,
whenever we have our desktop computer on, you can hear it as well because it's 600 or 700 watts. So not complaining, just something I noticed, and I am very happy to go down to 1 switch compared to 3 I think I was using before. So
nice.
That is the only project I've had though, minus working. What about you, Gavin?
I feel like I'm the only one that really does anything during this week. Like. You guys actually work? Like, when do you get, you have to make time for your projects, right?
That's the life of an IT person, though. Let's not play cool here.
Yeah. When people call me, I ask them to reboot their computer first, and that gives you a lot of free time while I wait on them to reboot. Yeah.
You're one of those tech support people that's like, oh, let me go ahead and pull this up. Go ahead and unplug your machine for 5 minutes.
Yeah, no.
5 minutes? Why 5 minutes? I don't know. Just give it a shot.
I'm going to put you on hold. I'll be back.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Call me back in 30 minutes after you reboot. We'll reboot and wait 30 minutes and see if it's still happening. That's my thing usually. But anyways,
don't contact me.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, just an update on my Z-Wave floodlight project. So this was, for those of following, this was the project where I took like a floodlight cam, and basically gutted it and rewired it. So the lights are controlled by Z-Wave, and the reason I did this was so I can associate the switches with it. So if the hub or anything's still down, I could still control the lights on my floodlights through the switch using associations and stuff. And it's been working beautifully. I basically put in a Zeus relay in there to control the lights. But after I put it all together, I realized if I ever have to unpair and repair this thing, I have to actually take it off to be able to press the button 3 times to do all that stuff on the Zeus relay. So I went up to one more time. I added an external button into the case. So now I don't have to disconnect anything. One, that button allows me to manually control the light. If I ever press it, it'll turn on and off the lights. But 2, I just triple press it and it will put the Z-Wave relay into exclude or include mode, and I don't have to actually unwire it or anything. So I'm loving this project. I'm now moving on to my other Z-Wave floodlights because I have a few of them that I want. And it was part of my ongoing project of making, I guess, my house still more reliable if the hub ever goes down, for example. So there were certain automations that are very hub dependent, right? But if Home Assistant locks up or gives problems or whatever, for whatever reason, I still want this switch to be able to turn on that light, right? Without an automation. So I've been going through my various automations and just saying, make sure manual control still works. Because I had a few of them. One of them was my basement lights. I ended up doing putting in a Zigbee, Inovelli Zigbee, and doing bindings to all my basement lights. So now if the hub's ever down, I can still control all the lights in the basement. No problem. So that's just one of the projects I've been working on throughout the year. Slowly I'll find something and then I make it more reliable. And then, this was the week again. I'm loving my 3D printer. And the fact that I haven't gotten in trouble this week means that my wife really does not listen to this podcast because I know last week's podcast, I mentioned I was thinking about getting the Prusa MK4. Well, I ended up ordering it. I don't know when I'll get it. They're notorious for shipping months away, but I ordered it. I placed the order. She probably hopefully still won't listen to this podcast and know until I get it, but I'm already planting seeds. So I'm leaving like threaded rods by my other printer and stuff like that. So when it does show up and she asks me what's that, I'll say, hey, I 3D printed another printer. That's what the threaded rods were for. And those other parts sitting by the printer these last few months were for. I'm thinking ahead here so I don't get in trouble. Right. So as far as she's concerned, I'm going to be 3D printing another printer.
She's gonna be like, Gavin is so industrious.
Yeah, and if she sees leftover like threaded rods and stuff, she'll be like, oh, look, he must have cut those rods and put it in the 3D printer, and stuff like that. I'd be like, yeah, exactly. This is pro.
I'll go ahead and send you guys a letter so she knows.
No, stay out of this. These are pro tips for our listeners. I have pro tips too here, right? So I'm looking forward to that MK4. Like I've been reading reviews and so many things on it. It's a nice looking printer. It's going to double the speed. I'm so excited. Also this week was the Home Assistant You're the Voice Chapter 6. Right. So I watched that presentation and it was so good to see that, after last year's Year of the Voice, they haven't stopped iterating on it. So they're still holding, presentations and stuff. And in this one, they basically announced local wake words. So basically when they had their little satellite devices, it was streaming the audio to Home Assistant and Home Assistant was doing the wake word detection. And it created a lot of network traffic. It created a lot of, CPU utilization on your Home Assistant, depending on how many you had, right? Well, now they've released, ESP Home, what do they call it? They added a micro wake word service for ESP Home.
Oh, cool.
So now that can be programmed to capture the wake words. And once it detects the wake words, then it starts, sending everything off to Home Assistant that it needs to set off. So that was a big deal for them. It's another step in the right direction for their local voice control, which is looking really good every time they add more stuff. It's just hard to get the hardware that they're playing around with. And it's still not at the point where it's going to replace, the A-Lady or, Josh or anything like that, but it's getting close. Right. I was actually, seeing if there were any iterations of integrating this with Chat GPT because, it'd be nice to just say to it, without me having to program these things, just go, hey, are any windows open in the house? And it tells me what rooms are open and stuff like that. Right. Like I don't want to have to program anything, but if it can integrate with Chat so it can analyze what's happening in my house. Like if you're feeding this is where I would like to see it. But say you're feeding Chat GPT, like all the events happening in your Home Assistant, right? Then ChatGPT has all this information. I'd like it to analyze that information and say something like, hey, it's going to rain this afternoon. You have a window open, you might want to close it. That's the kind of thinking I wanted to get to. Or, nobody's home going to lower the temperature in the house to automatically. I know you could do that by creating things, but it'd be nice if this is all automatic.
It's built in, yeah.
Yeah. And it's,
Yeah, it would be nice.
And it starts thinking like that. So it becomes a more aware house. And I have a feeling we'll get there at some point. I just keeping an eye on it, because all you got to do is feed the information. If it knows all your contact sensors and their states, it can make decisions, right? And it just needs to be able to constantly monitor that. And then how it notifies you is the other thing. But it would be cool if we get to that point.
Yeah. The seeing trends and so these large language models, or at least the way they work, the language could be anything. So like seeing a sensor turn on and off can be a language to this thing. And if it has the correct setup and I guess prompting and that kind of thing to do what you're talking about, and kind of like be able to infer or figure out like something that is maybe outside of the norm, like, oh, the door, that window's open, it's 9:30. He probably doesn't know. Like that would be a really cool thing to have. On. So
he'll say, oh, he left the garage door open, but they're all in the bedroom right now. Maybe he wants to close the garage door. Let's let him know, right? Stuff like that, because currently we program all that stuff, and there's so many points of failure, like where it could go wrong. That's why I don't implement some of these things, right? But if it's got that information, that would be nice if it would just not act on it, but at least notify you. That's where I want to see this going. And like I said, I think at some point we will get there. We're not there yet, but I could see us moving towards that.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of like reading and figuring out on how the tokenization stuff works with it. I got to make this Gavin GPT thing. So, it's an interesting product. It really is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the nuts and bolts of this stuff is so far outside how everything else we understand works. It's really amazing that they're very smart people that put this stuff together. Let's just say that they are very, very smart people that have been able to program and put these neural pathway network things together to make this seemingly thing full of this thing that's full of gibberish to literally everyone else on the face of the planet. Just think or pretend to think. Like, it's really, really cool what they've done. So
it's only going to get better because it can even protect us from doing dumb things. Like if I just say, turn on all the lights, I'm hoping it would sit there and go, are you sure you want to turn on all the lights? Or something like that. Right. It would be cool. So I'm excited to see where they go with this. There's so much potential there though with it.
Yeah. We say all that with the hallucinations that ChatGPT did yesterday. I guess people were experiencing all sorts of anomalies from ChatGPT. It was just kind of like going off. I saw some screenshots where they would ask a simple question and it had like 3 or 4 paragraphs of response. It just kept going. It's like, this thing is hallucinating. I don't understand. So, I guess they have done a postmortem on that, and it says there was a bug in a step where the model chooses certain numbers, these tokens, and there was a bug in that, and they did a rollback on it, and turns out it's back to normal.
Yeah,
Chad's back,
and that's why I don't want it to be like able to control anything yet. Right. So at this point, I'd be happy if it just monitored and notified, but had no control. So it'd say, hey, your garage door is open. Do you really, or it would monitor my driveway and say, hey, I see somebody walking up the driveway trying your car doors. Maybe, and they would know to wake you up. You're sleeping. It's like, hey, maybe I should really wake them up, that type of thing. So like I said, it's the potential's there. It's just taking time and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I have the paid version of it now and I've been using that more and more. Like just today, I was having an issue with the script I was working on and I just took the section of the script, fed it to it and asked it why this was happening. And it spit back the reason why it was failing. And I was amazed that it figured that out, but it's pretty good at what it does. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's good.
Yeah, and so we're just talking about one particular brand of this thing, ChatGPT, because that's what everybody knows. But Google came out with Gemini Pro today, I guess.
Well,
So
that was the
kind
renamed
of a-
Bard, I think, right?
They keep changing name.
But it's available in Canada now, I think, too.
Yeah, I think they rolled it out. I don't know. I put a link in our show notes. I'll put a link in the show notes about somebody saying that the killer feature of this is video and how it can analyze and figure out based on a video you shot, or upload to it what's in that video. And this guy he says it's a video of his bookshelf, and he asked for a JSON array, which is a programming thing, of books in the video. And it's a second video of just scanning by his bookshelf. And this crazy thing has basically broken everything down. It responded in bullet points, and he asked, no, I want it in JSON array, and it gave him a JSON array. That's incredible. And it didn't use very much. It uses 1,800 tokens of his 1 million tokens that he had. So that's really cool. There's all sorts of stuff going on. I saw one today that was also an open source local thing that was kind of doing what GPT-4 is doing, where it kind of figures out what route it wants. You can give it anything, and it will take a programming language. It'll take a video, a picture, and figure out what you want to do with it. Text, of course. It'll go on that. This stuff is just iterating so quickly, and on itself, and not on itself. Like, people are really working on this right now because it's kind of a cool thing. It's happening. It's happening. What I'm talking about is any GPT, and it will take anything that you throw at it: speech, image, music. Send it to music. Everything. It'll go into it and process it and figure out what it is.
It's a rabbit hole. Like, when I eventually decide to find some time to go down that rabbit hole, I would want something where, just here's all of my shares on my home server, right? Just index it, get to know it. So then when I can say, I need a receipt from this store, that I bought this at, it would then be able to pull up the receipt and feed it to me, like, that's where I'm hoping we get. I'm pretty sure they're working on it. But that kind of thing I want to keep local too. Right. And maybe have it running on the home server, Yep.
That's all coming. It does take a long time and computer power to kind of like process this stuff. But what you're talking about is not very data intensive, and we should be able to have that stuff, what you're talking about, fairly soon. Maybe we'll even have Gavin GPT fairly soon. I don't know.
It'll come to Control 4 here soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Gavin GPT. We're targeting Home Assistant first. It's a Home Assistant first platform. So we'll see what happens.
As long as I get paid for this.
No. I mean, you might. I don't know. See, this is my problem. I have all these ideas. I just don't know how to monetize things. Speaking of which, I will be in Phoenix next week at Lightapalooza, showing off our non-monetized product for linear lighting design. And if you want to check that out, there's a conference you can go to in Phoenix, and then we have some features that we'll be launching next week as well, which are really cool.
Ooh, Vision Pro integration. Is that what I hear?
Vision Pro. Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, no, it's a web page, and we deliberately cut off using it from your phone or tablet. So it's like, this is a desktop application for real people doing real work.
What year is this?
Yeah, I have enough. I don't know. Like, it seems like we probably could open it up, but right now it's optimized for desktop. So we're gonna focus on that. Anyway, yeah, Phoenix, be there, be square. I'm sure a lot of news will come out of that because it's a fun conference. It's gotten big this year. Like 900 people are going to this thing, so it's bigger than it was last year. All right. Well, let's move on here. We do want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support through our Patreon page. If you don't know how to bet the Patreon page, head over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech and HomeTech.social's Mastodon spam admins, moderators, whatever we want to call ourselves. I don't know.
We have less spammers.
Yay. For as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out here on the show. And every single pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day and talk about moving to Discord. I don't know. Should we move to Discord? Maybe not. I don't know.
So torn.
We'll see. Maybe if you feel strongly about it.
If you don't want us to, sign up for Patreon this week.
Patreon, exactly.
That'll help us decide.
Let us know. All right. If you want to help out but can't support financially, totally understand. Just appreciate a 5-star review or a positive rating in the podcast app of your choice to help people find the show. That's going to be all the news for this week. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Till next time.
Anything more about Ohio?
Nope, nothing.
Oh, okay. Ohio.
Not for a couple of weeks.
All right.
A couple of weeks, I'll tell you about a new location.
Okay. Pawpaw season yet? No.
Nil for...
No.